your right-hand man.
Yes.
So are we here and not here?
Okay. Okay, this is a big crowd here today. I want to welcome everybody.
Beautiful day.
Oh, 72, going up, going to be spring all week. Such a great time. Yeah, okay.
I like the new spring summer wardrobe, that's cool.
Yeah.
Last time it was coat. And
Yeah, I'm back wearing my Tommy shirts. See, my uncle left me many things, but the two favorite things was 500 martini glasses and 25, can't think of the name, I have to look at the label on the back. No, what is the label on the back?
It says,
Tory Richards.
yes, Tori Richards.
He would go to Sarasota. He lived in Tampa, so we went down there to visit him. But he would, whenever he went to Sarasota, there was one little clothing shop, very exclusive, Sarasota and all that. And they would have these Tory Richards shirts. And he would go through them and look like with the martini, he would never pick the same martini glass. And he would look at all these Tory Richards shirts and he would buy the one he doesn't have. No duplicates. And they were $70 shirts.
Very comfortable.
Yeah, but they're not cotton and they really hold up and so anyway.
They're nicer even as they kind of age and wash. And
Yeah, they're kind of like the mattress type of thing, and they're very good for the summer, and so I inherited those, and I get to iron them, and that's a meditation.
Oh, yeah.
We get the ironing board and hear the steam going, it's like shh.
I didn't know people did that anymore.
Oh, I love it. It's like a little breathe, it's like a little steam engine, go breathe.
And you can associate the smell.
Yeah, and the feel of it, when you watch the wrinkles go away, I create these little personal sacraments. Now, a sacrament in the Catholic Church and other religions is a Dharma gate or a grace portal. In other words, if you do the sacrament, the ritual, that will open the door to grace coming into your life. Or healing, or whatever conflicts you're in, or problems, or whatever, the sacrament will, if you do it properly, hello, glad you're here. The sacrament, you see, works impersonally. In the Catholic Church, the priest offers the sacraments, but he isn't the sacrament. So the sacraments stand alone. So if you do the Mass, take the thing, that's a sacrament, and the various sacraments of death and marriage and all these things. But these sacraments are like are impersonal, in that the sacrament itself is the portal to grace. In the Protestant religion, they threw the sacraments out the bathwater out, and said that the minister is the sacrament. So the minister is the one who delivers the grace, and the minister has to be morally pure in order for the grace to flow through the minister to the people. So it flows through this minister, who is a personification then, or the ambassador of Jesus. Just like in the sense, my father was a naval officer and used to tell me, that when in a foreign port, the commanding officer of a naval ship is the full representative of the President of the United States. So a naval ship, and this was much truer at previous ages when there would be a naval American or Navy ship going into maybe Japan or some other port. The captain of that ship would be the representative of the president and have his power in that place, you see. So like in the Protestant idea worldview then, the minister then would be the ambassador of Jesus and have the full power of Jesus in that particular context, you see. In the Catholic tradition, it's the sacraments of the church that deliver grace, you see. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying, I said, well, the hell with that. I don't want to be a Catholic or a Protestant. I'll create my own sacraments. So when I iron, okay, I create a sacrament by mentally ironing the problems in my mind, the wrinkles in my mind, as I iron. So it becomes a metaphor in which it's a factual ironing. I'm ironing clothes, but at the same time, I intentionally offer myself to the ironing so that the fact of ironing then becomes a spiritual act of offering up the wrinkles of my life.
So you're really spiritualizing everything.
Yeah.
It's all mental. Life is all spiritual. It's all mental.
Yeah, it's a way of making the material, flat world of facts alive with spiritual meaning and grace for me. So when my wife's done, yeah,
My mother-in-law kind of did the same thing with washing dishes after a big dinner.
yeah,
It was relaxing.
yeah.
Putting things back in order.
Yeah.
Yeah, vacuuming, putting things back in order,
Organizing.
cleaning, washing dishes. When our dog died, it was a very powerful grave in the backyard, but I remember intentional. I was so tired of the pain, like when my wife's dog, maybe I talked about this last week, but anyway, her love and identification with the dog was much stronger than mine because it was her dog, and the dog would run to her when she came home and all that. But I just become aware of a lot of subtle pain in our relationship, and during that ceremony, I just remember being sick to death, tired of the obstacles and the pain, not big stuff, but subtle stuff. But and I remember just putting it in the grave, So you can do this by writing a particular problem or something you can't let go of on a piece of paper and burning it. So you offer it to the fire. So it's a way of surrendering that which we're clinging to, the thorns or the crucifixion, the crown, the crucifixion that we cling to, you see, which is a metaphor for the crucifixion. The thorns and the pain and the stabbings and all that, you see, is I'm hung on this cross, you see. And so when I surrender it, it basically means I accept it. But you can't let something go unless you accept it. If I hate it, I'm not letting it go. So it's like the insomnia thing. If I hate not being able to go to sleep, I can't let go of the resistance of not being able to sleep, which maintains my inability to sleep. So as soon as I release or surrender my resistance to not being able to sleep, so then I'm saying it's okay that I can't sleep, I'll probably go to sleep. You see, so when I release or surrender my clinging to the resistance of the pain I'm experiencing, I maintain the pain. It's like I want to let this go, and I keep letting it go, but I can't relax my hand. You see? I can't, if I open my hand, I'll let it go, but I can't open my hand until I relax or release my hatred or resistance to the pain of holding it. So if I'm holding a cactus, and I hate this cactus, I can't let go of it because my hate holds it. You see, as soon as I accept the cactus, now I'm getting back to Jesus, you see, where you accept your enemies. I accept the cactus. I release it. And then there's no cactus. So I release myself back into the now. When I hold something, I am holding it in time. I'm fixing myself in time. And I really want to get back to now, but I can't because I'm holding and fixing myself in time, you see. Yeah.
It's trivial, but if you've never held a cactus, when you let go of the cactus does not let go of you.
That's the old Laurel and Hardy thing in the old sound movies, when
It's
they
very profound.
step on a piece of paper with gum and you can't get rid, or Brer Rabbit and the Tar Baby.
See, I think what he's saying is very right. What you are saying, it makes complete sense, provided the other things that are, you are clinging to, they are passive.
Yeah,
But life is not that way. The other things are very active, and more than often, they are the problem. Because we are conscientious, we are reading all this and listening to this, but others who are not aware, that is where the issues are coming from. You see what I mean? So the cactus, even you let go, it is clinging. The bottle, though you let go, it comes and booms, you know? You see?
Yeah.
it's like a yo-yo.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
throw it out and it comes back.
yeah. So then what do you do? Run!
Well, that's also a metaphor for love. We say if you really love somebody, let it go.
Let it go.
If they come back, if it comes back, it's love. If it doesn't, it wasn't. You know, it's the idea of as long as you're clinging to something, you kill it, or a person. You know. Yesterday, and I don't have any big adventures this week. I mean,
I noticed that blackboard is
yeah,
perfectly calm.
yeah, I didn't.
Empty.
You know, maybe I'll put something on it. But yeah, because last week was really I had the dog and the odd couple. You know, so I had you know, that was all good. So nothing this week except last night. My wife goes to Rotary. So Blackstone is a small Rotary. They're really struggling to get a lot of members. They're losing members. But the Rotary has, anybody ever been in Rotary?
I want to get into Rotary.
Yeah. But anyway, they have a weekly meeting where they have a dinner and a 20-minute speaker. And so every member gets to bring up a speaker for the week. And so last night my wife asked me if I would speak. So sure. And she introduced me as, it was kind of funny, but she said, when my husband is the most interesting man in the world. You know, because she said when we first met, and I didn't realize this, but that was her impression, that we could talk about anything. So, and I immediately thought of the commercial with the most interesting, the most interesting man in the world who prefers Jusaki beer or whatever, I don't know what it is. But anyway, so I went up to, I had to speak at a podium, and it was a table, long table like this, with maybe about about 12 people there. And then this long table here, you know, and so it was the shape of a cross. You know. So anyway, I stood there and had, like I always do, I come up to it's like coming up to the edge of a diving board, you know, and then just stepping off, because I said I had no idea what we're going to talk about. And so so I really began to say, I said, well, usually most people that are invited here, they talk about what they do. You know, they might have a program, or they might have a job, or they might have some passion or something. So I said, I'm going to try to describe what I do. So I told them about the class here, that I come here. And I found it very difficult to talk to them like I talk to you, because, well, you kind of like know what you're going to get. You're used to it, you know. But they were like, you know, what they expect objective, you know, talks about somebody doing something in the world, got a club or got a job, you know, something they're doing in the world, and I'm trying to talk about something I'm doing that's before the world.
Yeah.
In other words, I want to talk about how I form the world, how I perceive the world, rather than what I perceive, but how do I perceive it, you see? Not what is meaningful or how do I create? Come in. Yeah, that's okay. Haven't missed anything. So I'm interested in the operational system of the mind and how my mind creates the world that I live in and believe is the only world. How do we do that? It's not just me. How do we all do that? Since we all have minds. We all have really one mind, just with different conditioning. But there's only one operating system.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
I had this thought. We have brain, we have heart. When we say mind, I know.
Yeah.
What is your thought about mind? Where is it? And
Okay, well, all right, so the brain is like the hard drive. The mind is like the operating system. You might have Windows or Mac, but it's the same, it's an operating system, okay? And there's laws to this. There's laws to how the operating system in a computer works. Most people just want the computer to do stuff, and if they get jammed up, they call a priest. Or they call a therapist, which is tech support. So if my mind gets jammed up, I go see a therapist or a priest. If my computer gets jammed up, I call tech support. But it's the same idea. Okay? So the brain is the hard wiring, the hard drive, and the mind is the operating system that takes the data that comes in from the brain. Now the brain has 6 sense doors. In the West, we only say it has 5. Seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touch. In the East, Buddhism, they add thinking and mental formations. Because thinking is like a sense door. I mean, I'm aware of smell, I'm aware of touch, I'm aware of sound, I'm aware of sight, and I'm aware of thinking. So that is a sense too. So we've got 6 senses, and all this data is coming in, right, to the brain, and the brain sends it to the mind, and the mind has a hologram of reality, which is me and my experience and my culture, my religion. All that I know is past, and so I have this hologram, so that incoming data has a place. It fits into my world, you see.
So then, if all the past experiences are stored where? In mind?
Yeah, storehouse, yeah.
Storehouse is in mind. So then when we die, soul continues. Does that have mind with it?
All right, here's the
answer to that.
here's where Buddhism and the traditions of the East, and Christianity, if you get into the mystical areas of it, adds another factor, and that is awareness. Now, awareness is formless.
Right.
It's aware of form. So awareness knows form that comes in sense, smell, taste, hearing, sight, thinking, right? Thinking is form too, thought forms. Okay. Awareness knows that, but awareness is not form. It knows form. So the knower, you see, is the ground or the primary reality, but it has no form. The mind creates a space-time hologram in which all of our forms, you, me, everybody, my past, the future, the whole thing has a place. And each one of us creates a different hologram. because each one of us is experiencing sense data through that, or if we touched it or smelled, somebody lit a match, we'd all smell that. But then everybody's brain and mind, you see, would create different meaning out of that data that fits their hologram. Well, that's a really good sound, or that's an irritating sound. It's the same sound. So the data is neutral. It's the mind that applies meaning to data according to the past. But reality is now. Life is now. Past and future come out of now. So when I'm thinking about the past, I'm now thinking about the past, or now thinking about the future. But the reality is always now. But we believe the past and the future is real. So I believe that I am determined by my past. Oh, my parents screwed me up. I'm a mess now because of my past choices. I regret what I did, or somebody did something to me, and now I'm wounded here. I am caused by the past. But I'm creating the past now, and I'm giving meaning to the past from now. So I create the meaning of the past and the future under the illusion that the past and the future are creating me. And that's because there is this hologram of the world has a little king in it. And the little king is called me. And me is really a fixed idea of me that I maintain from the past. I believe me was born, and I believe me will die. So this idea of me is maintained through memory as the organizing principle of the data coming in. So when the data comes in, me is like me tells it what I'm going to do with it. Am I going to run from that data, or am I going to hug it? Am I going to eat it or throw it out? Pleasure, pain, the whole thing, you see. But me is the center of that in the way we see this, you see. So the belief is that me is a fixed thing when it's really a thought in now. When you see this, when you hold totally, it is a revelation. It will change your life. I remember the first time I had this realization, I must have been in my early 20s, but I suddenly realized that I wasn't my thought. So if you really realize and see that who are you? I believed I was my thought, and me is a thought. Me is an idea that's fixed. All the other thoughts come and go, like blippity blip, all that. But there is this one idea, one thought that doesn't go, and that's me. Okay? But that's a thought too. So when we have these moments of revelation or realization or insight, it's the fact that awareness is seeing something that me can't see. Because me is a thinker, and it can only see things in terms of the past and what it knows. You see. Everything is relevant to what I already know about it. So if somebody comes in and the last time they were here they interrupted the class, I'm immediately going to, well, you stay out. You see, because I know who you are, but I don't know who they are. Because they're now. All I know is what the past, you see. You see what I mean? So we see the world in terms of our past knowledge of it, but this is all based on the idea that there is a me seeing this that is outside of the world. The me exists because it is outside of the world, just like the awareness that was born out of the plains of Africa when first tools were made. Somehow humans were able to do the MacGyver principle, in other words, you're in a fix, and you got this, and you got this, and you got that, and you put them all together and make a spear. Okay, so you But in order to do that, you have to be outside of the objective world. So the world becomes objective, a bunch of stuff, and then I have the idea that if I put these and this together, I'll create a rocket ship. I mean, it goes to that, or a computer, you see, or a stick, So biologists are always discovering that, there used to be two animals don't make tools, but then they discover that a chimpanzee will take a straw and make a tool out of it and stick it into an ant hole, and the ants will get on it, and termites, and they'll be able to eat the termites. Well, they made the straw. It's not a straw now. It's a tool. It's a spoon, or what you want to call it. You see. So anyway, this everything exists because of what we name and form it. So this is the iPad, and if somebody threatens me, I could use this as a tool. Now it's a bludgeon. Or if the door is creaking, I can stick it under the door, and it could be a doorstop. It's not an iPad, it's a doorstop. So everything changes according to its use. And its use is determined by me, what I want to do with it, you see. So this whole hologram, you see, is created. When Buddha had his awakening, he said, I see the house builder. I see the house builder, and the house builder is no more. In other words, he saw how the mind is constructed as if we were watching somebody build a house from the foundation to the paint job. The whole thing, you see. So this practice that we're involved in is the practice of seeing how we create the world in which we live. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, except that we don't give any reality. We don't believe the seer is there. We believe the only one seeing is the me. So the seer, or the knower of the mind, is asleep. So that's why they say this, non-dual, or the world is an illusion and all that. It's because it's only one side of the truth. Yes, the hologram that we live in is not the whole world. You see, it's a representation of the world created by me for my survival, but it's not or in the sense that when we go to sleep at night, there's a dreamer and the dream. So when we sleep and when we're in a dream, we're not aware that I'm dreaming. So we're not aware of the knower. I'm in the dream. You see. And then when somebody wakes me up, there's a knowing that I was in a dream, and now that dream, the illusion of the dream falls off, and now I'm in, not the real world, but another dream. Now I'm in the dream of me, in the world and the problems and the separation of me from the world. And I believe that I am, but what I want, my heart wants a union with the world. I want to be the world. I want to be at one with, at one-ment. I want to be at one-ment and not at two-ment. But at two-ment is necessary for me to catch a bus and make tools and talk and do stuff, you see. So it's not that I have to give up the two-ment. I have to discover the at one-ment so that at one-ment and two-ment and two-ness can be both at the same time. And this is what Buddhism calls enlightenment. Is not that the world is dissolved and the me is thrown out, it's just that the light, well, I'll go to a movie. Let's take a movie example. When you go to a movie theater and you sit there, you turn off the lights and the screen comes up and you see a movie, but you don't notice the projector light going to the screen, unless maybe it used to be when they smoked in movies, you could see the smoke in the projector light and you would notice the light. But if there is no particles or if there's no forms, we can't see the light. There has to be a form in the light in order to reflect it, in order for you to see it, you see. But the light is the movie, but it's not the movie. You see, in other words, the images on the screen are the way the light manifests itself in form. So they're really one, the light and the images are really one, yet they're still two. There is light. So awareness is light, like the light of a movie projector, and the mind is the images on the screen.
What about heart?
Huh?
What about heart?
Heart? Okay, heart is a metaphor for unity. So they say when the heart opens, we feel love.
Yeah.
Love is unity. When love, there's different kinds of, when real love happens, there is no lover in the love, there is just the unity. We all feel this like in grief. When somebody, you go to a funeral and say you meet your relatives, it might be somebody who really pissed you off your whole life, and in that grief you just hug them as one. You see, the separation goes, and in the grief, in the grace of grief, we're one, And then you separate, and then you go home, and maybe your whole relationship with that person has changed, you see, from that, So, heart is really a metaphor for the opening of unity awareness, which is felt as love, experienced as love. Because, see, light itself is not divided. So love is not, you cannot, so reality, so this teaching moves in this direction away from seeing the world as dual, which is okay, but it's secondary. The primary awareness is unity. Yeah.
I had this question this week because I remember saying that the world is me. I am the world, and the world is me. Does that mean that life? And then I've learned in this,
Right.
that life is all one. It's all we're all connected. It's all one. But is life also individual at the same time?
Yeah, that's the paradox. It's both.
It's both. Okay. Okay.
It's not one or the other.
I used to think it was individual, but I never heard
Yeah.
of connected all together.
Yeah.
Then I learned connected all together, but now I'm thinking, yes, it's got to be individual.
All right, so like, of Buddhism, the one that I most resonate with is Zen Buddhism, but not in the sense of the ritual of it, where you do the rituals of Zen and go sit in a Zen monastery, all that stuff, So it's more or less, I resonate with the Zen teachers or masters or writers in their perspective, in the way they put things together. And one of the things about Zen is the Zen koan. People are familiar with it. But a Zen koan is a puzzle in which two contradictory imperatives or commandments are put together, and you have to choose which one is correct. But you can't, because they're both true. So the intellect can't get out of this. It's a Zen koan is a puzzle to kill the intellect or the thinking mind. For instance, my favorite one is the parent who tells the child, try and be spontaneous. Or try and love. Christianity does that. You should be like Jesus. Try and be like Jesus. Try and love. Well, see, this is contradiction. Love is spontaneous, so you can't try to do it. You see, so you can try. You do one or the other, but you can't get out of the fix, you see. You're put in a fix. And you have to get out of it because God or the master or the parent put you in it. And so if a Zen master says, what is your face before you were born? That's your personal koan. And now you've got to go sit and try to figure it out. And and he's saying, basically he's saying, or the one I like, if you say this is a magic marker, you're wrong. And if you say it is a magic marker, you're wrong. Now, which is it? Choose, or I'm going to hit you with it. So you have to choose. You can't just say, I don't want to play. You have to choose, but it's a double bind. If you choose one, you're wrong, or if you choose the other, you're wrong. It's like a girl with two lovers. If I choose him, I'm going to go to France and have a wonderful life, and I choose him, I'm going to go to England and have a wonderful life. I don't know. You see, they both have value. If I choose him, I should have chose this one. If I choose this one, the other one will pull the guy, I should have done that one, So you can't do both at the same time, yet you have to choose. And so life is full of these. From the small to the profound. I can't choose which cereal to get. It acts out in every kind of way, Should I go to the kitchen to get coffee, or should I sit here and watch TV? They both have value. I don't know, you see. So it's basically it's a parallelization of willpower. The will, or I know, okay, is divided. Okay? So when the will is divided, that means I should do this one or I should do that, but they both have value. We like, how do you make a choice? Well, you make pros and cons, right? So this one's got 10 pros and this one has 8, so I'll choose that. But if you choose that, there's going to be something nagging you. I should have chose that other one. When this one goes bad, see, I should have chose that one. And then I hit myself, So my whole life I regret because I didn't choose that job instead of this job. You see. So this is kind of like these koans, which is a metaphor for everyday either-or problems that we can't get out of. Do I say this or do I say that, you see? And all of this is a product of me. See? Because me is an idea. Me is not who we are. You see? Now, when this collapses and you have an aha, and you go running to the Zen master with your solution, he's going to know if you are authentic or if you're just trying to put something forward to fake your way out of it. And he will either, in the traditions, the Zen master will either hit you or dance with you. So, and it's also the story of all of the movies and stories, so like particularly the story of the Holy Grail and in the Arthurian legends. If you remember the story, they were all sitting around at the round table for dinner, and that was their practice to have a quest or to have some interesting conversation or whatever, And so this hologram of the Holy Grail materialized over the round table, and they were all infatuated with it, and they vowed to each individual to quest for the Grail. It was like a tempting, the temptation. You know, this is your quest. So they all went out where there was no path. So they didn't follow God or the Bible or authority or no manual. There was no path for them to follow. It was the pathless path. Krishnamurti talks about this. You know, the pathless path. The truth has no path. So there's no path. There's no path in the past. You can't find the truth or the grail by following what somebody else has done. It has to be a personal discovery. So each goes into the forest where no other one went. And so the only one night became the Grail night, and that was personal. And when he started on his path, as the legend goes, he dropped the reins of his horse and let the horse, and just followed where the horse went. See, he didn't make the horse stay on the road. If the horse went here, the horse went there, he just went with the horse. So that's a metaphor for following his body wisdom. He's not following his intellect, and he's not following me, you see. He's following his, well, he's not following anything. He's just doing. It's like when as I repeat the story over and over, when my mother lost the keys and she gave up. It's okay, I give it up. It's okay that I don't have the keys, I quit. And immediately she dropped the reins of the horse, and the horse took her into the bedroom, and she put her hand in the sweater pocket, and there were the keys, you see. So, in a little teeny macro, see, that was the Grail. But she got to the Grail by giving up her me that was trapped in, should I go this way or that way? When you follow your nature, the nature just knows where you're going, but you don't know where you're going. So you're spontaneous. You're just doing stuff. But the intellect, why are you doing that? I don't know. I just feel like it.
It tells you, though. It tells you, you hear it. Not like a voice, but you hear it.
Yeah.
What to do.
You sense it.
You sense it, and then you get up. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'm sitting there and I'll check the stove, you know. I didn't know why. I just...
Yeah.
Inner voice.
Yeah, that only happens, you see, when the me is quiet.
Yeah.
And the weary mind is quiet, you see. Then you hear the inner voice of your nature.
It tells you what to do next.
Yeah.
And it's almost like in any interaction, if you give a pause, it
Yeah.
speaks. What is the right thing?
Yeah.
Should I say this and would it go
Yeah,
right or whatever?
but it's more of a, to me, it's not so much of a verbal thing, I should do this, it's just a sensing.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I think it is almost like for her, it's more a sound for me. Somebody,
Yeah.
inner voice is there.
Yeah, and with the stories of particularly Ram Dass, but the Westerners who went to India in the 60s, 70s, and got hooked up with these yogi masters, one thing they noticed was that they were completely spontaneous and unpredictable. You might be going around, you remember, they're going somewhere, and he says, stop the car, and the master gets out and goes into a store. What's he doing? He didn't know what he's doing. He's just going in there, and he meets somebody who particularly was
Correct.
in a need or something for that teaching or whatever, and so that happens. And I do this, and the reason I love this class, and you all with us together, because it allows us and me to allow the conversation to wander. We let the reins of the horse down, which is the lesson plan. And don't come in here with my grip notes, you see, and my talking points. So I let the reins go with the trust that we're all going to the Grail. You see, so it's not pre-planned. So there is a basic trust that reality is a whole interconnected field that will take care of us and look after us if we surrender our need to fix it and make it certain. See, me wants certainty. It doesn't like uncertainty. It doesn't like ambiguity. It has to know what everything is so it can be certain of the future and make it come out the best it can, you see. But it only knows what is by what was. And what was is created by what is.
And that's limiting.
Yeah, well, what was doesn't exist, except if I give it existence. If I don't give it existence, I can still think of it, but it has no power. You see? So when we de-invest the past with reality, it becomes a memory without any thorns. See, so there's no regret in the past. I should have done this. You see, because I no longer believe the past is creating me, or that I could, even if I in my like the Big Bang Theory, they're always imagining time machines, and they will go back and change the past. So you know what, all that stuff like that. You know, well, that's just imaginary fantasy. You know, but it does point to the fact that we invest the past with a reality that it doesn't have, and then live according to what that reality dictates. You know, that the cause of my pain is in the past. So this creates psychotherapy, Freud analysis. You go to the Freudian analysis, and you're going to talk about your past, so you can find the single cause in the past that causes all of your problems now. So if you can just find that cause in the past and become aware of that cause, you will, by cause and effect, boom, I'm free. You see. Well, you have to spend a lifetime, that was one of going to analysis, because there's so many causes. There's no one cause.
Yes, there is me.
You see?
That's what I found with me.
Yeah, in other words, you see what I mean? Is looking for the first cause in the past, but the cause of the past is now.
You know?
I'm causing my past by the meaning I give to it. If I don't give it any power, it has no power over me, and I'm free from the weight of the past. And that we become very light when that happens, you see, because the past, I remember we live in Blackstone, and we're always, every summer, we're visited by some Mormons. And they always look like penguins. I mean, they have little young men, short hair, and they got the black pants and the white shirt and the Bible. And they have this big backpack full of their literature and stuff. And I see them walking up the road, you know. And they're going like this, you know, they just kind of smile. So the weight of their past is so heavy.
And also, rain or storm or whatever weather, you talk about people, the mailmen always get through.
Yeah.
Those little Mormon boys, they come in all kinds of weather.
Yeah, they're very disciplined. I mean, that is their saddle. In other words, that makes them strong Mormons, by going out into an unfamiliar, hostile world. Same with the Jehovah's Witnesses. You have to knock on the door, big smile, and the Bible literature, you know, and get out of here, I'm watching TV, whatever, So it's like you're made strong by being in a hostile world and not succumbing to it. So there's an opinion for that. I mean, I wasn't a Mormon or Seventh-day Adventist or Jehovah's Witnesses. I just moved to Blackstone, which is a hostile world. So,
That you perceive it to be a hostile.
yes, I did. You're exactly right, because my perception was these people need yoga and meditation, so I was kind of like a missionary going to China.
And they're not going to be accepting.
No, exactly.
Back to your first when you're talking about the meeting.
Yeah.
At the Rotary meeting. You probably walked in with a certain, if it were me, I would have walked in with that certain perception.
Oh.
That may have even then affected the way
I'm
I
glad you
presented
brought
myself, and I wasn't,
that up, because that brings me back to what I opened up with, was that. So I go up to the talk last night at the little podium, and I got these people all there sitting there with a smile. I mean, they all know me, expecting a talk, And so I just dropped the reins to the horse, and I just start going. And I really don't remember what I talked about, but I remember that I was very present, and they were very present with the talk. So there was no, what will they think of me? There was no me there when I talked, because when you just become the talking and surrender to the moment, there's no me there. You're just doing what you're doing. And you really are not trying to govern or tell what you're doing from a previously prepared plan. See, that's the point about the plan. If you have a previously prepared plan, it's so you won't be embarrassed.
Or you have
Oh,
control.
or-
I will have control.
I will have control. And so then you're very sensitive to anybody who tries to upstage you, or if they're bored or they're falling asleep, it's a reflection on what I'm doing, But the whole idea of the lesson plan is to make the moment certain and come out so that me is not shamed or embarrassed or made to be foolish, you see. So that's the whole point, but that plan comes from the past. But when you drop the reins to the horse, the past just has no power over you, so you don't need a lesson plan. You're free just to be here. And but then too, this to do that requires an intention or a life training. I just can't come here and give a talk on quilting. You know what I mean? But I can come here and give a talk on Buddha Dharma because I've been practicing it my whole life. You see, so I'm not speaking from what I just got trained and I got a degree in, you see. I'm speaking from life experience and the practice of applying these principles to my everyday life, you see. And so...
So the practice sets you free.
Yeah. In the same way with sports or anything else. I mean, you train to
being in the zone.
you train to be a tennis player or whatever, and you just don't go. And finally, when you get to you keep going to higher levels, and you become more in the zone as you do it. So the training does you. There's no more. Should I hit the ball this way or that way? There's no me in there. So they act very fast. Because there is a time gap between me thinking and reality. When we live in me, we're always just a little bit out of sync. There's always a little bit of, should I do this or that? How am I going to be perceived? What will they think of me? You see, and that's it may be very short, but it's a little bit of a gap, you see. I always remember the Marx Brothers in their movies. And these Marx Brothers came from Eastern Europe somewhere. And they were in sync. They were in the zone together. And so you put these three guys into a movie full of stuffed shirts. And they operated at a higher speed than the world did. I mean, they were spontaneously responding to each other in their jokes and their comebacks. That wasn't a script. They may have had a script, but their spontaneity ran circles around the stuffed shirts or the thinking people. They couldn't respond at the same level. So it's a different time, you see. So this is where people that get in the zone are operating, doing things at a faster speed, spontaneously, than the guy who's just doing the training. And the same with dance. I mean, if you're doing Arthur Mary and you're just still learning to dance, you're thinking about the pattern, you're following the pattern. But when you break free from the pattern, you break free from the past, and you become Fred Astaire and Ginger. You see, so you're not so you create the dance as you go. So when you enter the forest, like the Grail Knight, you see, you create the world that you live in, or the dance, you see. You're not following the footsteps of the past. You're not following the footsteps of Jesus. You are Jesus, but not in the sense of a thing, because Jesus was in the past. So you're not the past at all. So in Christian, the way I understand the biblical teachings is that the whole point of the teachings of Jesus and the New Testament is to break us free from the past of the Old Testament and to become present in the kingdom of God now, which is right here. See, so, but we only get to be in the kingdom of heaven now when we're free from the tyranny of our own past, which happens when we give reality to the past and invest our me in it, you see. There is no me when you're now. So, now all these, connecting dots as you watch me do, it's kind of like that MacGyver principle where what's happening in me is that as I talk, dots like MacGyver, Jesus, the Grail, the Marx Brothers.
I don't know who MacGyver was.
That was a TV show in the 80s,
Something like that.
70s.
70s. It's really popular. And it was a guy who was constantly getting in fixes, and he would constantly create tools out of scrap that would get him out of the fix. So it was really a metaphor for creative intelligence that was free from the past. See, if you're locked in the past, this can only be a marker and nothing else. They're a fundamentalist. You see, you can't use that as just not a cigar. You see? And they'll get mad. A fundamentalist will get mad if you break out of name and form. There's no sense of humor. It's a literalist. The world is literally the way I perceive it, and if you try to change anything and say it isn't, I'm going to kill you. That kind of literal interpretation. There's no humor in that. Yeah.
And there's several things that I feel like I want to say and have a grasp of it all at the same time, but I can't do it. But like MacGyverism, I think of point A, point B, point C, plus leap of faith, and something happens. And I feel like I'm sort of at that point where I have a feeling that you've never met an audience that you didn't think positive about, or that you could bring out. When I first was teaching, I would lock myself in a classroom and present the material, and I'd practice talking to hostile students in the
Right.
class, even that weren't there,
Yeah.
so that I would be really comfortable with it. Have you, with the Rotary group, they didn't seem to be with you at first, but I have a feeling that you're able to make that click, 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 and there is a conversion. I remember going into a classroom that I had practiced like crazy. They were a really educated group. And I walked in, and stories that I told to previous groups were funny. Went over like, great. This group was just, not with me. I have no idea how to bring that kind of group around.
That, I'm glad you brought that up. Now, just pointing back to that Rotary group, I had no, well, first of all, there really wasn't any me there that was reactive to their reaction, whether they're responsive or not. They were responsive, just like you all are. So it was a very pleasant talk. But like I said, they are rigid, they're rigidly guided by their schedule. So as soon as the 20 minutes was up, it was like, That's it. So there's not a whole lot you can do in 20 minutes. But I would like they eat at the VUMAC, which was there is a, used to be the Blackstone College for Women in Blackstone, and it became the Virginia United Methodist Assembly Center. So they rent out, they rent out stuff. So the Rotary rents out a catered dinner there. That is an institution. I mean, they got the big institution kitchen, and the dinner was stringy, overcooked beef, some mashed potatoes that weren't really potatoes, and broccoli that was cooked to the point it was like soup. You know, it was just like mush. You know, and it was funny because they had some people just get salads, a big salad instead of the institutional meal, and they had a big old table of salads over there. My wife had a salad, and so we're sitting there, and so I get my I think something about vegetarian. Somebody said something about it, and I said, well, I was a vegetarian for 10 years, and then I ate meat for 10 years, and then I was a vegetarian for 10 years, and now I'm eating meat again, and I haven't seen any difference. And so we laughed, you know. And then I got the food, and then I said, and I think I'm going to start being a vegetarian again. So I went over, there was one salad left, somebody didn't show up, and I got that. So.
It's worse if you decide these are neither.
But anyway, yeah, so I felt very good. I didn't feel like the old me that came to Blackstone in 1980, who viewed it as a, why don't they like me? You know, they don't accept me. You know, in other words, I wanted to be accepted, but never was, you know. So I've kind of like remained a monk, kind of like I live like a monk in Blackstone, in the sense that I like it that nobody bothers me. But I've never been able to connect in what I do with Blackstone like I do here. I went through various periods where I would try to have classes or do talks or whatever like that. Nothing. You know. I did have a yoga studio for a while, and I taught some yoga classes, and people came, but it just kind of like exhausted. You know, there's just a limited population, so it's not like here where you have constantly new people. So you know, that got exhausted and just fell away. You know, so but this is part of my the way I perceive the world that I live in, which goes all the way back to when I was in high school. Growing up in a military family that moved every 2 years, so that I was never rooted in any one place where everybody knew your name. Nobody ever knew my name because I was always new. You know, and so at recess time or in between classes, where everybody's hooked up and talking, I would wander from room to room pretending to look for a friend, you see. Is he in there? No, he's not there. Maybe he's in this room. No, he's not there either. You know, and then the bell would ring, then I go back to class. But anyway, so that's kind of like the metaphor, you know, that describes the way I position myself in the world. Okay, so it's been a long time in breaking that formation up of me in the world. And it breaks up kind of like when you're watching TV and a storm, you're watching cable TV or dish, and a storm comes up and the picture begins to, well, this hologram of me in the world is like that. And when you start applying meditation to it and the Dharma, it begins to crack up, you see. And so, you know, so it begins to reveal itself as being just a movie. And the light of the projector begins to be aware that it's creating the world it's perceiving. And that changes everything. You see.
So you may still not find as many kindred spirits there, but it won't cause you as much pain.
Yeah. Well, I don't get any pain there now. I know what you mean, yeah. But I do have, like I have a teacher that comes once a week, and he's been coming for a couple of years, and we just sit and talk. And he's been going through tremendous transformations in his personal life. You know? And nothing really happens except he comes and talks about what the problems and the panics he's had during the week. And so in the dialogue of my, you know, I'm not trying to fix him.
You said he's a teacher?
Yeah, or he's a psychologist.
Oh, psychologist.
Yeah, school psychologist, yeah. But he has kind of like an obsessive order control kind. He wants to, you know, if anything is out of order, if he can't control it, you know, he gets panicky. So, yeah, so he's been coming there for a couple of years, and he's light as a feather now. He's constantly discovering the breakup of his hologram, where it's not true, and he's letting go of the reins and discovering the grail in his life. And he comes in, he's so happy, you know, my impulse was to do this, and I let it go, and all this happened. You see, he was so excited, you know, that he discovered the key on how to let go of the projection of me to control the world, and discover that the world was really a beautiful place.
What's cool about that is this impulse is still there and may always be there. It's how fast you can recognize it and let it go.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
just like,
not like you get to the stage where you wouldn't have the impulses, because then we wouldn't be human.
yeah, well, just like last, not this Friday, but the Friday before last, my impulse, my me impulse has been to clean up, and you know, my wife makes a mess and I clean up, so that's kind of like the way we define ourselves, you see. So her desk has got stuff piled all over it, mine's Felix, you know, very organized. We have a table in the middle of the office where we have our computers and a couch and a TV. It's a big round table, and there's a line in the middle, and her stuff is piled high, and mine's clean. So if she leaves stuff there, the unopened mail or something, I just put it over there. You know, and that's the way we do things. And then she'll have a cleaning fest and spend the weekend cleaning. You know, but then it'll pile up again. So, you know, our sister's like that, and, you know, her grandmother was like that, and you know, it runs in the line, you know. They trace it back to living in the Depression, where you saved everything. You saved egg cartons, you saved string, you saved tin cans, you saved everything because you might need it. The MacGyver, you know, I need some tin cans and some egg cartons and I'll fix it, you know, but if you threw it all out, you don't have it, so you save it.
Part of it's brain chemistry too.
Yeah, but anyway, so I'm sitting at dinner, we have Friday night dinner, 8 people come, and my order complex would kick in, and I would start picking up, I would eat sooner than others, and I would start picking up the plates, take them into the dishwasher, you know, so conversation could continue, and so I was fulfilling 2 expectations. I was outside of the conversation, I wasn't a part of it now, but I had a function, which was to clean up the table, you see. So I got my cake to eat it too. You know, I got to be separate from the world, and I got to have a purpose, so I didn't feel that way. I have a purpose, I'll clean up. But then that created backlash, because some people who are slower eating, when you start cleaning up the table and they're still eating, begin to feel like they're isolated, you know, well, maybe I'm slow, you know, or whatever, you know. So there would be a sense of personal attack on that, you know, and so I was oblivious to that. But then, so at that dinner table, I noticed the impulse to clean. I noticed it, so I wasn't the cleaning impulse. When you notice something, you're not the impulse. If you don't notice it, you're just going to do it. You see, there's a big difference. Noticing is not effort. It's not like I should notice it. It's just that I noticed this impulse to get up and clean. And because I noticed it, I didn't do it.
Or you at least have a choice. You have a conscious choice.
Well, I don't think so. I'm looking at that. Yeah, you could say there's a choice, but when you notice something that's going to cause pain, You just drop it. It's like if I notice that my hand's on a hot plate, I don't have a choice, I just take it off. So the seeing is prior to choice. When I see that I'm causing myself pain, I don't have an either or. I'm not caught in a either or choice. Should I take my hand off or should I leave it on there? Seeing is action. Seeing comes from the knower instead of the me that thinks, what it chooses. So the knower is prior to the chooser, you see. So when I notice the impulse to get up and clean the table prematurely, I just didn't do it. And then a whole different conversation evolved at the table, because I was there, and it was the best dinner we ever had. You know, so that's kind of like, you know, letting the reins of the horse. You know, and letting the moment. It's not like you let nature. What is nature? You just let the moment take its course. You know, the real living now moment. You let that unfold, rather than trying to impose a lesson plan or a compulsion on it, or an order, you see, on it, you see. So it's a way of surrendering to now, and just being here now. When you surrender to now, you're just being here, and then you're fully awake and alive and sensitive to other people and now, because there's no division. The divider is me, who divides me from now, and now I'm out here trying to fix it and make it better. You see, so yeah. So steer me back. Any question?
Did you see that guy on TV that saved his son from getting hit in the head with a baseball?
Oh, I saw
a
the
baseball bat.
I didn't see. I saw it on the internet, on the Facebook, social media.
You did?
But it must have been they are interlapping now, where social media will put it on the news and all that. It goes back and
Yeah,
forth.
he was on ABC this morning with his son.
Right.
I don't know who took the pictures, but they had a picture of him. His arm went out like that.
Right.
And reflected that bat.
Was it a flying bat?
It was a flying bat. His 9-year-old
Yeah,
boy
right.
was
Would have
looking down at his cell phone.
Yeah, he would have been killed or brained. Yeah.
He would have been really hurt. And they asked the father this morning, they said, well, what were you thinking at the time? He said, I didn't have time to think.
You don't think?
His arm went out like that.
Well, that's, you know, that really, that's why we love, you know, I don't know, the effect of social media and the internet. Everything is being integrated. Got your evening news will show something that was on YouTube. You know, and everybody's a photographer, and everybody's a news journalist. You see, so we all got the world in our pocket. So I can go out there right now and something can happen, and I can take a video of it and go click and send it to YouTube, and the next thing you know, it's on CBS News. If it's that, but everything is a metaphor. You see, so there is the factual event of the father stopping the son, the bat. Okay, but it's also a metaphor for our own capacity to act prior to thinking. And we do this all the time, but don't think about it. A lot of times we might trip, and we suddenly just do something, we move the right way or fall the right way, and say, wow, if I hadn't fallen that way, I'd been, you know.
Whatever it is, it's faster than thought.
Yeah.
There was no thought there. He saw it and went.
Yeah, so there's no, see, when we live in me, we believe there is a time gap between thinking and what I do. So there is like a belief or a feeling that there is a separation between me and the moment. And when the moment happens very quickly, and we're threatened, or there's a life-threatening moment, we discover that we drop out of the thinking me, and we are pure action. Like in cars, you know, suddenly you know, you dope off or something, or somebody swerves at you and you find yourself maneuvering out of this situation, and you say, wow, how did I do that? You know, or a miraculous event, somebody's caught in a burning car and somebody comes over and lifts the car, you know, lifts the car up or something like that. How did that? Well, I don't know, I just did it, you see. Or, you know, yeah.
I've had to think about this issue, what you're describing here, with you just do it.
Yeah.
Because many years ago, I was in a shootout and I acted.
Yeah.
Just like that. And then after it was all over, I thought about it.
Yeah.
And I realized, wow, I could have been killed.
Yeah.
And I wonder, the second time, do you automatically knock the bat out of the way? Or do you think, I'm gonna get hit?
Right. Well, as soon as you have that thought, you're probably going to get hit, because
Yeah.
now you're out of tune.
Yeah.
Now you're out of sync.
Easy to be a hero
Yeah.
sometimes, the first time, maybe not the second or third.
Well, see, that's why, you know, that's why death is an awakener of life. So people get the Medal of Honor, you know, whatever these people get medals for being pure action in a moment. Save people or whatever they do, or you save the kid or do whatever you do, or save yourself, but that's pure action. And then the mind, like you said, then the mind comes back and reflects on it and drops into an either or way of thinking about it, and then you can imagine what could have happened, you know, and all of that, and then fear comes in, or, you know, whatever. So then the me comes in and wraps it up in its little cocoon of me, you know, but the action is already gone. I mean, you know, it's clean. But the post-traumatic syndrome comes in when we wrap the action up in a me, and then we can't let go of it. You see, so then, but for people who live in dangerous moments, you know, they have the, you know, as a profession, they have an ability to be Teflon to it. Because if you carry it, you know, it's going to, you know, you're going to be like this, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, but this is not what we're talking about. Is something that we all experience. We don't have a map in which to understand it in reference to what we think is real. So it seems like a miraculous moment, you know, that just doesn't, the me cannot compute this in the me world, you know. So those, well, God did it, or, you know, a miracle, an angel did it, or something like that. It has to be contributed to some miraculous being who changed reality just for me. You know, so that's the only way most people will handle it, you know. But this understanding tries to look at this falling into spontaneity, or into the now, not as being something that's caused by God or some external being, or a fluke, you see, but really as a window, or that we can use to see what is true about us all the time, instead of just in miraculous situations. And death is the guru here, because that's why people go to extreme sports, because then they create the conditions where they have to act spontaneously to save their butt. And now YouTube is there to capture it, so you look on TV, it's full of situations where, I just watched one the other day where they captured all these little events where somebody just narrowly escaped death. There was some guy switching the tracks, and a train came and he jumped out of the way, and the train went by zoom, and then another train came this way and he jumped out of the way this way, and the train went zoom. And he got up and walked away. You know, and so there was another one, See, YouTube, all of these YouTubes and mixing of this are all metaphors to try and create little windows into what's missing in the way we perceive the world. So a metaphor is about something physical that happened, but at the same time, it's about my truth. You know, so it's two faces. One of them, it's fact, and the other one, it's me. And the me comes in, the me awakens, not so much as me as an object, but when I see the metaphor as me. In other words, trying to think of an example. Remember when they had in Paris, they had the shooting at Charlie Hebdo, or it was the comics. Yeah, okay. So there were people saying, "Je suis Charlie." All right. So what "Je suis Charlie" means, I am Charlie. So the metaphorical meaning of that event was that they shoot Charlie, they shot me. Je suis Charlie. This is a. So then you go to the teachings of Jesus, and he says, I and the Lord, I and God, I and the Father are one. He's saying, Je suis God. But he's not saying, the Father then is not like God is a thing, but the Father is a metaphor for the world, or now. So what he's saying is, Je suis now, I am now. The Father being the whole Monty, the full Monty, now. So Je suis, the Father, is a metaphor for saying, I am now. Je suis now, you see. So that's kind of like the way the metaphor works, is that it shifts us out of me looking at an objective world to me being the creator of the world. I am the creator. I as the knower, I am the knower of the world me has created, you see. And the metaphor, or little metaphors like this, are little windows that tap on the knower to say, you're really here. I am here, you see. So I really think, that the world we live in is very exciting because, we love these animal YouTubes. And all the animal YouTubes videos are showing us that life is intelligent. So you have different species doing loving things to each other that in the old materialistic world where animals are just dumb, determined robots.
Animalistic tendencies.
Yeah, they're just animals, you see. Only humans have feelings. Animals don't, you see. And so all these are disproving the reality map that we have been living in since the Enlightenment. That the material map of the world is that matter is dumb, it's not intelligence. That the world is just made of chance, stuff bumping into each other, you see. There's no intelligence to the cosmos, or consciousness to the cosmos. It's all stupid matter, just dumb stuff, you see. And so once that reality is fixed in, you see, then all we can do is just control matter because it can't control itself. It's just chaos. So now I've got to control the world. I've got to control nature, you see. And we reached the end of that. We reached the end of that worldview, because now we're destroying. We see the opposite. We're destroying what we thought we were preserving. So it's a metaphorical world that we live in. So everything really points to our own truth. When we don't see it just as external facts. So all external facts point to the truth of existence, if I can see it. But in order to see it, I can't use the I of me. Nothing wrong with the I of me, it's just that it's a little I. It's not the I that sees the whole. Well, let's see. Did we tie up all the strings? I started off with the talk at Rotary. The last time I was at Rotary, they have a big sign, a scroll, and it has a wheel on it. That's the symbol of Rotary, is a wheel. And then they have some vows. And so I gave a talk on how the wheel is also the symbol of Buddhism, and the vows that they are taking are also similar to Buddhist vows, And I said, so you're all really practicing Buddhism and don't know it.
Is the Rotary men and women or just women?
Well, it's both, and primarily it was a business meeting for business people to network and do charity.
Oh, okay.
So it's a professional organization for people who want to do charity. So they do fundraising and they do send money to this. And they took money last night to send money to the tornado victims in Waverly, and stuff like that. And they give scholarships, and stuff like that. So it's a compassionate business organization.
Is it open to everyone?
Yeah.
If anybody wants to go?
Yeah, it's international.
Okay.
The Rotaries are all over the world. I think it started with a couple of guys in Chicago some years ago.
Is that like a Lions Club?
Yeah, similar, except it's more of a ethical organization rather than a drinking veterans organization. So they have vows and they pledge allegiance and they do they do a prayer and they pledge allegiance and they sing America the Beautiful. In other words, they do a patriotic ritual opening. And then they have their business, and they have a talker, and then at the end, they all take the pledge, like Trump. I vote for Rotary.
Don't go there.
I vote for Rotary. I vote for Rotary.
Last Republican debate I saw, and oh my goodness, the party, I have no issues, I'm an independent, so I don't have issues with the party. But just, the way they bicker and name calling, and
Oh, yeah.
it's like disgusting.
They've lost.
I had a thought today. I was in my morning writing, was that it is possible that the same thing will happen at this election that happened in 1968. Now, in 1968, when the Democrats fragmented at the convention in Chicago and you had the police beating up everybody and they elected Humphrey, who had not run in the primaries. He was the establishment Democrat, and McCarthy, and remember McCarthy and Kennedy were running, and Kennedy got killed. McCarthy was the only one that had primary votes, but he didn't have enough, I don't know why. So they elected Humphrey, and guess who got elected? Well, Nixon. Law and Order Nixon came in, who was going to promise peace and all that, you see. But Nixon also did something else, you see, because Lyndon Johnson knew this when he did it, when he signed the Civil Rights Acts. He said, we've just lost the Southern Democrats. So the white Democratic South left the Democratic Party, and they were the Democratic Party up until the Civil Rights. Southern Democrats were a bloc. Nobody could break that, So they left en masse, and they went with Wallace, who was kind of like a Trump clone. And then Nixon came up with a strategy that if we code the language so that it doesn't appear to be racist, we can bring the Southern Democrats disaffected some into the GOP, you see, and we can feed them family values and all these good things like that. But we can really create policies for the wealthy and the business. which are against the interest of the working people, you see. So they flooded in. They were called Reagan Democrats. So when Reagan came in and followed Nixon, you see, Reagan really cemented the strategy, and the Southern Democrats flooded into, along with the evangelicals. So all of these flooded in, became the famous Reagan Democrats, you see. So the Southern Democratic Party became the Republican Party, and the Southern Democratic Party / Republican Party has become the base of the Republican Party. So what's happened now is that they're weaning down the choices. The establishment can't elect a Humphrey. So we're going to end up with either Cruz or Trump. So we've got two demagogues. We've got a secular demagogue, Trump, and we have a religious demagogue, Cruz. So if one or the other of these guys runs, I feel that the moderate Democrats, the moderate Republicans that can't stomach these two will come to the Democratic Party. In the same way that the Southern Democrats couldn't stomach their own party because it became a civil rights party and left for the Republicans, you see. And I really feel that if Sanders can get the nomination, that he will attract more moderate Republicans than Clinton will, than Hillary will, because he doesn't have the same baggage she has. His favorabilities are up 70%. Hers are down 40, 30, something like that. Unfavorabilities. So the image of Hillary and the image of Sanders creates different feeling tones in the people that see the images, just like Obama. The Republicans created a negative feeling tone with the picture of Obama. So when any picture of Obama comes up, people feel bad. They don't feel bad, they just feel something's not right. So they feel something's not right when I see that image. Well, then that means that he's a birther, or he's a Muslim. So people don't say black. I don't feel he's not right because he's black, because then I'm racist. No, he's a Muslim. Or he's an antichrist. All these absurd things to get out of the honesty of being an honest racist.
This, somebody, are you recording this?
Yeah.
Is it okay if it just stop like this?
Yeah.
You can stop anywhere, right?
No, it's going.
Cut it. Cut this, I don't want to be. But basically, they said, 35% of the Republican Party thinks that Obama is Muslim and something else.
Yeah.
35%?
Yeah.
And where is the information? Why there is this kind of...
It's called brainwashing.
I know,
Or
and that is not okay.
Indoctrination,
I know.
brainwashing. Once you are branded, now, we know that once you get, I like Westinghouse. My mother was branded. She loved all of the old appliances. I always get I forgot what it was, but she would go to these brands, because they were quality. But then in time, these brands get watered down, so what they produce is crap. But people still get the brand, So once you get branded, you just get whatever they deliver. So once you get branded as a Republican in your psyche, you just take whatever they deliver, because you're buying the brand and not the content.
By the way, are you watching Fareed Zakaria?
For who?
Fareed Zakaria.
Do I?
Yeah. He comes on CNN.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
You watch his program because it's
Sometimes.
very, very interesting the way he's talking about
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah.
And I think that is how you coach us.
Yeah.
I think it's terrifying to think of the choices that we have, to be honest, because if you go with the Democrats, they're going to have a Republican Congress, which means they are faced with the same thing Obama's been faced with. I don't know how Sanders could get a tax plan through the
Well, let's-
Republicans.
Actually, if we end up with a Democratic president, we will take back the Senate. So.
Yeah, that is what Sanders really is trying to awaken, is that if there really is a revolution or a shift in the coalition of voters, so the ones that stayed home now come. Usually what happens in the past, when you have that kind of a movement, when people go to vote, they'll vote that party line right down. So that's called coattails.
Yeah.
So if you vote the president, you're going to vote for every Democrat on that ticket, and that change. So then that sweeps in.
Still can't take the House though, because of the way that it's gerrymandered.
Yeah,
So it's gonna take till the next census,
yeah.
and then the states kind of.
Or the midterms. You know, in other words, the midterms they elect a lot of.
Yeah, it's still gonna be a big
Yeah,
issue.
but then, yeah, you're true. However, the dynamics, the way I look at it is that the Republican Party, particularly since Obama came into office, defined itself as being not Obama. Right? So no matter what Obama did, the Republican Party did the opposite, even though Obama was doing the Republican policies.
Correct.
You know, like Obamacare was a Republican health care plan.
Well, look at this
But-
Justice Scalia thing.
Yeah, but yeah, so this was, I mean, they're honest about it. McConnell, when Obama was elected, said we were going to do everything to make him a one-term president. So the whole identity, now it's interesting, is that the Republican Party has split into the establishment, which defines itself as being not Trump. So the Republican Party has never said who I am. It always says who I'm not. You
Yeah.
see, now, does this change when Obama's gone? Well, then that removes the racial dynamic to it. You see, it can't, so that will weaken. So are they going to say, and they may say, if Hillary is elected, they may say anything but Hillary.
Yeah,
You know, so I'm not Hillary.
yeah.
Sanders may, it'll be difficult to say I'm not Sanders.
Well, yeah, they can say I'm not social, they're gonna go anti-social.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but if the policy is what the people, there you go against the people again. If the people are voting for these policies, Sanders has said, you know, well then you just, how do you work with these people? Well, you say, look, if you don't go along with this, you're gonna get voted out. You know, that,
There's a question in my mind that I just don't understand yet about caucus versus primary. I have the impression that in the primaries, there have been huge numbers of people voting
Yeah.
because they come out. In the caucuses, I have the impression, I hope I'm wrong, that whole hundreds of thousands of people did not get to vote. You know, if you go to caucus, most people aren't going to go and argue and debate. And apparently, the numbers that Cruz won by were way down. I mean, the total number of voters, because they caucused.
yeah.
So whether you like Trump or not, he's winning in primaries, but he's losing in caucuses
Yeah.
because not as many people vote. Do you understand?
Well, things are gonna change now, because the way the Republicans, they shot themselves in the foot. Because these parties have the ability to frame the way the primaries won. So they made, not imagining anything like Trump, they made the base, their southern states, the first primary states. So you have the whole solid South voting on Super Tuesday and the thing. You know, so you look at the map, all of the South is voted. So that means that the base of the South, which is going to be the racist, Trump, evangelical vote, is already voted. And for Hillary, most of her base, which is the black vote, is voted in the South. So now we move into these larger states with more delegates and a more diverse population than the solid South. See, because the South is pretty much a black and white population, but the rest of the country is kind of like brown. You know, it's just a mix. This is evidence. So you get on the interstate, you go to New Jersey, and stop at the fast food places or whatever along the rest of the country, and it's like a different world from Blackstone. You know, because everybody here is going to be white or black. And you go there and it's just a big stew. Everybody's speaking different languages, wearing different clothes, you know, and you don't see any pure white anymore. Everybody's brown. You know, so this is a different world, you know, but the South has always been this, historically has been this black-white culture. And it's either or, but not both. So Wallace would get up and say segregation forever, Keep this duality, it's a dual world. But you go to the rest of the country, it's one world, it's all of it. So, it's an exciting time.
Well, do you know, is it true that people are turned away in the caucus and don't get to vote? Are there people who don't get to
It's
vote?
not they're turned away, it's just that, think about it, if you're gonna vote in a regular, say a regular primary, and these aren't like, and keep in mind, these are all party events, they're not like general elections, but if you're gonna vote in a primary, you usually have all day. In a lot of states, you have earlier absentee voting, so you can, and all you have